On today's episode of the Mark Titus Show, the 1976 Indiana Hoosiers are popping champagne somewhere because the last undefeated team in college basketball has officially gone down, and they did it in historic fashion. The number one 14-0 Tennessee Volunteers go on the road to Gainesville. Florida was favored in this game. It's not shocking that Tennessee lost. Florida was by far the best team that Tennessee's played this year. And it's hard to go undefeated in college basketball. It's hard to go on the road in college basketball. It's hard to go on the road in conference in college basketball. None of those things should, all of those things should lead to a result that shouldn't be surprising insofar as Tennessee losing shouldn't be surprising. Tennessee lost by 30 points. Tennessee was 1 for 24 from the three-point line. They had 15 points at halftime, did the number one ranked Tennessee Volunteers. They were down by as many as 36 points. It might have gotten worse than that. I don't know. I turned the TV off. There was a point where I was watching this game, and I thought, this is so bad. I want to see how bad it can get. It got to 36, and I said, that's bad enough. There's other things going on. Like Kentucky, Georgia was going on at the same time. I think Duke Pitt was going on. I was like, I think I could change the channel now. I think I can see what else is out there. But biggest loss for an AP number one team since 1968, since Brandon Walker was like 8 years old. That is how long it has been since we have seen a number one team in the country lose by as many points as Tennessee lost by, which was 30. In the end, it was 73-43. But do not let the final score fool you. It was not even that close. It was an absolute beatdown. So now we have to have the discussion of does this matter? Is this just a blip? Is this an anomaly? Or are we seriously concerned about Tennessee? And what should come as a surprise to nobody, I'm probably going to fall somewhere in the middle. I'm going to play both sides on this one, and then I'll hit you with a nice let's just wait and see at the end of it. I'll put a nice bow on it and wait and see. No, it is concerning. I mean, obviously this doesn't happen often. The number one team loses by this much, but we had just talked about last show the budding SEC race. What are the SEC tiers? Like I thought Auburn was kind of the class of the conference, and Tennessee was maybe a step below them. I did not think that Tennessee would then turn around and lose by 30. So, it's a readjusting of expectations. But at the same time, I think Tennessee is still a good basketball team. Meanwhile, did Cooper Flagg have his Heisman moment against Pittsburgh? People are asking. People are saying coast-to-coast dunk on a 7-footer was absolutely disgusting. But I think it actually kind of overshadowed the real story, which is that Duke won this game by 30 points. And Duke is unbelievable right now. Don't look now. Or maybe do. I don't know why I said that. You can look now. Go ahead. Actually, I take it all back. Look now. Evan Miyakawa has the Duke Blue Devils as the number one team in the country. Kenneth Pomeroy has the Duke Blue Devils tied with Auburn now as the number one team in the country. A Duke team that's lost 2 games. A Duke team that, I guess did beat Auburn, but, as all the shuffling's gone on in college basketball, it does seem like Auburn and Duke, we just keep going back to those two teams. They seem to be distancing themselves from the pack. Auburn beat Texas in a game that ended up being kind of close. Arthur Kaluma put on his Superman cape there at the end and tried to steal a win for Texas. Auburn was up like 20, took their foot off the gas pedal. But Auburn, if you're just a box score watcher, you might be like, oh, Auburn had a close one in Austin, and technically they did, but they look pretty good. But yeah, Duke is rolling, Auburn's rolling. Meanwhile, the Cats might be back. Arizona specifically. The Arizona Wildcats go to Morgantown, get another big win. Arizona's rolling a little bit. Back-to-back wins at Cincinnati, at West Virginia. 2 pretty good teams in the Big 12. Arizona is new to the conference, and they're beating up on historic Big 12 teams, Cincinnati and West Virginia. It is very – I don't know. Do you think we'll ever get used to that, Tate? Do you think there'll ever be a point where you'll be like – yeah, UCLA. I mean, I was watching Villanova, which that's the other Cats that are back, the Villanova-UConn game. And then after the game, USC-Maryland women's game came on, and they were like, this is a big game in the Big Ten
battle.
And, like, obviously right now it's weird, but I honestly believe that, like, 30 years from now, I'll still be like, this is weird.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still be like,
it'll probably change again before it settles.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I won't have to get used to it because it'll change again. As I said, the Arizona Wildcats are back. But the Villanova Wildcats might be back. Beat UConn last night, and probably the biggest ball don't lie moment we will see all season.
Mm-hmm.
Alex Karaban drives to the bucket, gets denied, does not get touched at all. They call a foul late in the game. UConn's down 2. They're down 1. They're down 1. He gets 2 free throws. All he's got to do is hit 1 to go to overtime. You're thinking he's going to hit both, and UConn's gonna come away from Villanova with the win. Misses both of them. Bricks them both pretty badly. And Villanova hangs on to win, and Eric Dixon is single-handedly saving Kyle Neptune's job. He is so good. He is so fun to watch. And I don't know if Villanova – this isn't enough for Villanova to get into the – I don't know why we're talking tournament in early January, but that's kind of – I mean, you have to. You always talk tournament, right? I guess I don't think right now, but they're on the right path. They're on the right path. UConn did not have Liam McNeely in this game. He's still banged up, but Villanova did have Kyle Neptune coaching them, so I think that balances. It evens out a little bit. Big win for Villanova. Speaking of the Cats, Kentucky goes to Georgia, loses pretty decisively. Georgia slowed the game down and made me think, this Kentucky team, they get slowed down a little bit. Wonder what happens there. So Kentucky, it was a big week for me, feeling validated by some of the thoughts I had. But Kentucky takes a step back, and this is going to happen in the SEC. You're going to go a team like Georgia is exactly what I keep pointing to that makes the SEC so good. Is that I think if you're a casual college basketball fan, Georgia's been dog shit for most of your life, and you see Kentucky lose on the road at Georgia, you're like, wow, so Kentucky must suck. And I do think Kentucky's probably not as good as, they got pushed to the moon. They beat Duke, and such a hot start for Mark Pope, and they're 3-0 against top 10 teams. And Kentucky has, at their best, Kentucky's looked really, really good. I don't know if they're quite that good, but at the same time, this is not, by the end of the year, this is not going to be a bad loss. And Georgia beat Marquette earlier this year. They have a pretty good team. But yeah, Kentucky, a trend starting to form here where if you can slow Kentucky down, they have a little bit of problems. Meanwhile, Michigan flexes its muscle at UCLA, kind of takes control of the Big Ten. There are other contenders, like we said last show. I think there's like 5 teams I think can win the Big Ten, but Michigan and UCLA were 2 of those 5. Michigan goes on the road, just completely destroys UCLA. Vlad Golden has 36 points. Mick Cronin's in the post-game press conference calling his team soft. Kind of felt like a big moment in the Big Ten race in early January. A lot of basketball left to be played, and like I said, a lot of contenders still out there to be heard from. But this felt like a pivotal, wow, this could be very, very impactful down the road type moment. And also Michigan looks very much for real. Weird game, by the way. Michigan was up by like 20, squandered the lead, and then went back up 20. But anyway, a ton going on in college basketball this week. Also maybe a little bit of NBA. The Cleveland Cavaliers last night? Cody, you save it. You had some commentary for this game I want to hear about. The Cavs Thunder game.
All right, yeah.
You pervert.
That's a little foreshadowing.
All that coming up. Let's get into it. All right, let's probably start with the number 1 team in the country losing by 30. Mm-hmm. Is that probably does that make sense where we should start? The historic upset. I saw conflicting things being tossed around, and you can't. I gotta say, man, the internet was supposed to be a great resource for information. It was supposed to be something where you're like, oh my God, I got the entire knowledge of the human race at my fingertips. Mm-hmm. I can find anything I want in a split second. And it's kind of done the opposite, where there's so much garbage and noise out there that it's hard to make sense of everything. And what I mean by that is, I thought it was like since I saw some people saying since 1951 this was the biggest upset or the biggest number 1 loss. I saw other people saying ever. Then Norlander, I think, shut it down. He was like, this was since 1968. I think was it Houston UCLA? Was that the matchup 1968? I don't remember. So I'm going with 1968. I think this was the biggest AP number 1 loss since
1951.
That's what I'm saying. Dude. That's what I'm saying. It's all over the place. Meanwhile, did you see the UConn Instagram post the other day? Maybe they put it on Twitter too. UConn scores 60 points in the second half against Providence.
Yeah. And
they put out a graphic that 60 points in one half is the most in a Big East game for UConn since at least 1996, believed to be the most ever. So their research guy just went back to 1996, and then he was like, fuck it, man, I can't.
Yeah,
this is too much
He had to
work.
go get dinner. He's like,
we'll
stop it.
Dude, I got a dinner reservation.
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
I'm pretty sure. I want to see a pretty sure in a graphic. I want to be like,
We're pretty sure.
I would love to see that.
Derek Queen, pretty sure.
Can we do that, Cody? Can we make the Mark Titus show be the pretty sure graphics?
And it should just be only things that you can remember.
It's me. Yeah, you come to me. I want our team. I want Dukes and White Boy Rick and whoever else is working on the social for the show to just text me and be like, when's the last time you remember the team losing by 30? And I'm like, I don't remember it ever happened. And then they're just like, we're pretty sure this has never happened. We put out a graphic.
That's actually a good idea.
Pretty sure this is pretty. The problem is I forget a lot of shit. So
that would get the engagement up.
That would, yeah.
Pretty sure this is the first time that Oregon's won on the road on a whatever. And they're like, we did that last year at UCLA.
I'm pretty sure this is the first time I've seen 2 banked-in threes from one player in one half of basketball. It's a good, you know what? It's a good way to get information though, because then people would flood the replies with like, "No, dude, you don't remember Drew Neitzel in 2005? He did it."
So if you're first to be wrong,
thanks, man.
You actually might be second to be right.
That's what they say. That's an old axiom. I don't know what axiom is. Adage about the internet is don't ever post something don't ever ask anybody like, where's a good place to get a meatball sub. What you gotta say is like, fucking Quiznos is the best
get the people
is the best meatball sub in the city, and then people reply. If you say like, where's the best place to get a meatball sub, no one will reply. If you say, dude, fuck the haters, Quiznos has got the best meatball sub in the city, everyone will be like, you dumb bitch. No, they don't. This one. It's a way to it's a little tip for all you youngsters. It's a way to swerve the internet and get the information you need. Anyway, Tennessee loses by 30 to Florida. Not a lot to take away from this game in terms of, on the micro level of like, where did it go wrong for It went wrong when the game tipped off. They were down like 12-0 to start the game. Florida's very, very good. Florida's guards, I keep saying, like, it's the 2 teams where I'll just keep yelling the word guards over and over are Florida and Memphis. Mm-hmm. Like, you watch both of them and they have 3 guards that can just explode on any given night. Walter Clayton is like, he's become so fun to watch. He got so hot at the end of last year. It's rolled over into this year, and he just takes like, I don't want to say stupid shots because that makes him seem like that makes it seem like I'm criticizing his shot selection. It's not confident shots, I'll put it. Like he steps into shot. It's frustrating at times to watch. And I don't think the Buckeyes quite have this problem. We have guys who are confident. Bruce can be confident, and Mobley's a confident shooter and all that, but I get so jealous when I watch teams that have multiple guys on the team that just confidently step into shots and knock them down. And Florida has that, and I want that. I've seen what you've done for others, God, and I want that for me.
Yeah, this Florida team, early in the season we described what a national championship like makeup looks like, and you said you wanted experienced guards. And I would also say that in the tournament, you have to be able to play in different ways. This Florida team has experienced guards, maybe the best guards in the country. Yeah. They also scored 100 points earlier this week and then came out and held Tennessee to 43 points. 43,
yeah. And they didn't play well. I mentioned Walter Clayton. He didn't even have a good game. He just just the way he plays is so attractive to me. Elijah Martin was the one that had the good game this time around. But that's what makes Florida so dangerous is like, if you're, I don't know who Florida plays next. Who's next up on the schedule?
They play at Arkansas on Saturday.
Okay, so you're Arkansas. You're John Calipari. You're watching this Tennessee-Florida tape. He just played Tennessee as well. John Calipari did. So he's like, all right, we lost to Tennessee. They beat him by 30. This is concerning. I got to get ready to play Florida. All right, so Elijah Martin, he seems to be their best player. Let me focus my defensive strategy on Elijah Martin. Watch this. Walter Clayton and Will Richard are going to, drop 25 apiece on you probably. And Elijah Martin might go like 1 for 6, but that's fine because Florida is so deep and has so much talent and can play defense and is well coached. I mean, Todd Golden,
former Fraud Watch member.
What's going on with Todd? Like, are we done with the? You're an internet troll.
I am.
You're a conspiracy guy to some extent.
I am.
I use that lightly. It's like you're a guy that likes to you're a guy that likes to stir the pot and be like
and be deep in the story.
Yeah, and there's like some other shit going on, and like we're not like what let's make sense of this. Now, a cynic would just say Todd Golden is guilty of all that he was accused of, and Florida basketball just kept winning, and the powers that be at Florida were just like, fuck, we can't fire this guy. They're too good. He's rolling too much right now. We got to keep him around. I don't think that's the case.
There's no chance.
Yeah.
So a couple things. I do have an opinion on this. I didn't know we were going to talk on the Mark Titus show today. What I have learned in the past month or so is that you just got to wait for the next big news story. Yeah. Like anything that goes on, you just let someone chill out. hey, we're investigating this. We'll figure it out. And then let everyone
Yeah.
start talking about what's
Something
going on
else,
over
yeah.
there. But with that being
News cycle
said,
moves fast.
Todd Golden, if they had an ounce of any proof of what they said, and he would be out.
Yeah.
That's my stance on it.
Yeah, I feel like that would. I mean, we said it the second it happened. We're like, this is going to be easy to prove.
Right.
So I assume he's going to be fired quickly.
And they're 14-1.
And he wasn't. He's 14-1.
Did you see what they did in Tennessee?
But also, if I remember right, and I probably don't.
This is a pretty
sure graphic. Like what he was accused of was creepy, yes. Was concerning, yes. The legality of it was hazy, right?
Yeah, it was. Well, the one thing
was it was like stalking, but like
it was seeing someone at the food court and then taking a picture of them and then DMing it to them and saying, "I'm here."
Yeah,
which is kind of weird.
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
weird, very weird, very creepy. I'm just saying, like from a legal standpoint, when you're trying to like I don't, you're trying to nail a guy for something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what.
There was some pictures exchanged allegedly, so I don't know.
But anyway, it was very creepy. And it was, like at the time, right, the vibe was like, oh fuck, Todd Golden is out. Now he's like a darling of college basketball.
Coach of the year.
Yeah, might mess around and win coach of the year. Might win the SEC still. Maybe we're not done with Florida quite yet. Florida's gonna stay in the mix. Probably not, but I do think I go back to what I said earlier this week, and I'm not a guy that likes to pat myself on the back, but I think this time I will. I think this time I'll make an exception. This time I'm gonna pat.
You're a better guy than me because the fact of the matter is last show I would say like the theme was you were saying Auburn was in a tier of its own. I was saying how can you disrespect Tennessee like that, and your response was just like, well, we'll see. Well, we fucking waited about 15 minutes, and yeah, you were right.
I think Auburn. My concern with thinking Auburn's in a class of their own is that I'm pouring water on the SEC fire right now, and I think, and I say this as a Big Ten guy, and I know the Big Ten and the SEC when it comes to football have a the fans of those conferences have a big rivalry, and you argue about who's better, and especially nowadays, everyone's taking victory laps and dancing on the SEC's grave. I do want the SEC to be good at basketball. I think this is awesome for the sport. I think college basketball, unlike college football, college basketball does need the national appeal. The sport needs programs that don't care about basketball caring about basketball. Auburn is a great example. Bruce Pearl just became the winningest coach in Auburn history, and there's a lot of graphics. There's a lot of pretty sure graphics going around out there about that of like, in the 194 years of Auburn basketball before he got there, they won 12 total games. Since he's been there, they've, he's basically had since he's been there, the success he had matches like the entirety of Auburn basketball before he got there, and I think that's great for the sport. I think things like that. I think Scott Drew at Baylor is another good example. Tony Bennett at Virginia is not quite as strong as they had. Ralph Sampson, they had some good years, but like it's a similar thing. I think having all of these programs that frankly just didn't give a shit about basketball suddenly caring is great for the sport. So I didn't want to pour, like, we're living at a time where the SEC fans, I got Brandon Walker coming up to me being like, we're a basketball school, man. You see in this SEC basketball, and like I said earlier, Georgia is a basketball program that frankly has not mattered. Mm-hmm. And this year, they're probably a bubble team, and there's a world where they make it. It's not like they've never made the NCAA tournament, but I'm saying we're living at a time where Georgia can beat Kentucky, and I don't personally feel like that's shocking. It's a little surprising. I felt like Kentucky is a better team, but I think all this stuff is good, and I don't want to pour water on the SEC hype. But at the same time, if you're asking my honest feelings on the SEC regular season title race, I felt like it was Auburn and everybody else, kind of. Then Tennessee was the one that had one foot in the ring and was like, what about us? I think we can hang with Auburn. And they still could, but like I think it's one, Auburn is the better team. Two, I looked at Auburn's schedule, and they're going to be favored in every single game. They're going to be favored in every game they play until like they go to Bama in mid-February, late February.
You made this the first one's at Bama.
Yeah, so like the what you do when you're looking at these regular season conference races is you just look at the road games basically, because that's where teams slip up. That's where you get the anomalies. That's where it's like, oh shit, this is a huge upset. Kentucky, Georgia is a great example. And you look at where they go on or Tennessee going to Florida, like Florida's not 30 points better than Tennessee, but on this night on the road, that's how stuff can work sometimes. So I'm looking at the Auburn schedule, and not to take anything away from South Carolina, Georgia, who just beat Kentucky, and LSU and Ole Miss. These are good. These are decent basketball teams. Vanderbilt. But those are the first road games for Auburn. Is they go to South Carolina, they go to Georgia, they go to LSU, they go to Mississippi, Ole Miss, and then they go to Vanderbilt, and then the next one after that is at Bama. So like their first oh shit, they're probably not going to be favored in that game is at Alabama in February. And upsets do happen. I understand some crazy things can happen, but there's a decent chance that Auburn just builds a 3-game lead in this SEC race, and Vegas backs that up.
You're right.
DraftKings, they are minus odds to win the.
Really?
Yeah,
to win this greatest conference.
We are 2 games into the SEC race, and Auburn is already minus odds to win the SEC regular season.
Okay. Well, and I'm not here to take away from your victory lap because you were right, but I will say that I did do. You know me, when I'm wrong, I have to go do some research to figure out how I actually.
Yeah, you weren't
right.
You weren't right, but you also weren't wrong.
The 2 teams. So you're right. Auburn has a very advantageous schedule, especially with the home road splits and the imbalance of who they.
And they're
play.
the best team. Auburn
that
fans, if you're
too.
here, don't take this the wrong way. I'm not saying you're going to win because of the schedule. I'm saying you're the best team. Plus, you have a favorable schedule.
100%. The other one that I think that the only other team now that I'm willing to say might be at the end of the season, playing a big game against Auburn for a conference title situation would be, I think Alabama has a similar.
Yeah.
They have a big week ahead. They go to A&M and they go to Kentucky in the next 7 days. But from there, they have a bunch of the easier side until the end. They finish with Tennessee, Florida, Auburn. So they could be there in the last week of the season.
And they are, first of all, Alabama's a very good basketball team, so they don't need a miracle
Don't
to
they
beat
seem
Auburn.
like they've been not forgotten, but
yeah, they
what
do.
happened to them?
Yeah. They do.
And they're good. They have 2 losses.
I don't know. It's
They're
weird.
13-2.
I felt like the Alabama propaganda machine was running very strongly at the start of the season. It's like who
I saw a video yesterday.
Yeah.
Rico Bosco was wearing a West Virginia zip up. You're 13-2, buddy.
Yeah,
You beat Houston.
I think this goes all the way to the top. Is what I would say, Tate. I would say the propaganda machine led by one man, and he's not carrying his weight.
Off.
Or maybe that's the plan. Maybe that's what Bama wants.
I don't hate that.
Maybe
Underrated.
Bama wants to fly under the radar. They do. They'll play Auburn twice towards the end of the year. They of course end the season. But they go to Auburn to end the season. But yeah, I might handicap it that way. I might think that Bama is the second best or the best.
The best
how do you say
challenge.
It? Yeah.
The first challenger.
If you tell me Auburn's not going to win the regular season SEC championship, I might pick Bama. I might say Bama is, and I have to pick one team other than Auburn. I might pick Bama.
What'd you learn about Tennessee from this one? Because they're not 30 points worse.
Right.
30's a lot.
It's so this sort of thing can happen where you just get your ass beat. Now, the one example you'll point to if you're a Tennessee fan trying to cope and trying to make chicken salad out of this, as they say, is the 2016 Villanova team. When they played Buddy Hield and Oklahoma, I think it was in Hawaii. They were playing – it wasn't in Maui, but if I remember right, they were playing on some naval base in Hawaii. It might have been like a Pearl Harbor thing now that I'm hearing myself talk out loud. It might have been like a Pearl Harbor anniversary type thing. Anyway, I remember they were playing a game in Hawaii, and Oklahoma beat Villanova by 30 plus. It was a total beatdown. It was a similar type game where I think they were 2 top 10 teams. There's a lot of hype going into it. And it was just stunning. And it was another game where you just couldn't turn it off because you're I want to see how bad this is going to get. Mm-hmm. Those teams met in the Final Four later in the year. Villanova won by 40. Villanova beat the fuck out of Oklahoma. That was one of the most lopsided.
95-51.
Yeah, it might have been I'm pretty sure. I love this. I love that this is what I'm going to do now. I'm pretty sure it was the worst Final Four margin of defeat in the history. It was.
It was.
Well, that's not as fun when it actually is right.
It was.
It's more fun to be pretty sure and you're wrong.
Source: that's Mark Titus.
It was the worst Final Four blowout ever. And earlier in the year, Oklahoma had beaten Villanova by 30. So if you're a Tennessee fan, you're there's precedent here.
Mm-hmm.
We're fine. And then Villanova obviously went on to win the national championship. So I don't think one game dooms a team. I think I have to jump in because I pulled up the Villanova box score from that game. Yeah, go ahead.
They shot 72%. Oklahoma shot 30%, 72% from the field.
From the field?
Yes, 62 from 3-point.
It was 95 to 51.
He won.
That was brutal, dude.
Go ahead.
Brutal.
But that's what Tennessee can do.
That's
what you're saying.
Yeah, Tennessee. Yeah, the examples there. The problem is the Rick Barnes iteration of Tennessee basketball. It's hard to watch a game like the Florida game and not get PTSD to some of the worst moments in Rick Barnes. This just feels. If you're anyone that's paid any sort of attention to Tennessee basketball in the last decade, is it? How long has Barnes been there now? You can't help but notice the trend that like this sort of thing happens, and this sort of thing happens in a March Madness type setting. And just when you think Tennessee's got it figured out, and just when you think Tennessee's offense is clicking, and just when you think a guy like Chaz Lanier can carry them when you know, the shots aren't falling, but it's like we still have that guy. Dalton Connect was that guy. And I think that's ultimately what made the difference for them. And I wanted Chaz Lanier to be that guy, and one game doesn't make me rethink all of that. But I'll put it this way. It's going to be hard to forget this game. It's going to be hard to move forward and just say, listen, man, bad games happen. Every team should be afforded like 1 to 3. I feel like we should, when the NCAA tournament rolls around, we're trying to do resumes, but also when we're like trying to fill out our brackets, when we're doing bubble resumes and when you're trying to figure out who's going to win, you should almost like get rid of the top 1 to 3 wins and the top and the big 1 to 3 blowouts, or the worst 1 to 3 losses. Because in college basketball, even as it's become more professionalized and these guys aren't going to class as much as they used to, and they're, you know, and they're all like 28 years old and you know, getting used to the flows of the season and all that, you still get like just head scratching. Like every team just will lay a stinker at least one point in the year. So if this is Tennessee stinker, if it's like we flush it and we move on, you know, there's hope. The problem is I've seen this story before with Tennessee, and I wanted this team to feel different. Chaz Lanier is not Dalton Connect.
Right.
I think the totality of the team feels like they should have some more balanced scoring. But again, if they had a different coach and different jerseys, I would think much differently about this. And unfortunately, the reality is like when March rolls around, I know if Tennessee has like 3 losses on the season and they're a 1 seed, I'm still going to be like, I don't know, man, that Florida game, that's just like rattling around in my brain that can happen at a moment's notice.
I think what I learned from this one is that we thought there was going to be more balance if Chaz Lanier didn't play a great game. And if you look at their biggest game so far, this was their first loss. He had 30 against Arkansas. Even against Illinois, he almost had 20 when he didn't have a great game. He had 26 against Virginia, 25 against Baylor. So we had yet to see them play anyone with a pulse where he doesn't have a big game.
Yeah.
And now he goes out there, he goes 3 for 16, 1 for 9 from 3.
Yeah.
And they score 43 points.
Yeah.
So now in the back of your mind, when you get into this picking your bracket situation, whatever it may be, the narrative I have right now is if Chaz Lanier does not play 6 straight excellent games, they cannot win a national
They could
title.
be in trouble, yeah.
So,
yeah, and I guess that's kind of that's the hard part with it is like are we talking about Tennessee being a disappointment, a failure, whatever? What is the standard, I guess, and because if you're you know, if you watch them lose by 30 and you're like, well, this team's going nowhere, I think this team could go to the Final Four. I think this team could, you know, this is a program that's never been to the Final Four once. But like you're saying, you have to win 6 straight to win the national championship. So if that's the standard, yeah, it's hard for me. It's going to be hard for me to ever buy into Tennessee as a national title team, because I don't think Tennessee's on the level of a Duke and Auburn. But you know, the bracket could break their way. They might not ever have to play another. That can happen. You know, you let other teams upset the teams that are probably better than Tennessee, and maybe they don't have to deal with that. But you know, if you're saying like, can Tennessee make the Final Four? I think of course they can. I think this you do flush this game, but unfortunately it's not that Tennessee sucked. It's that Tennessee sucked in a way that they have sucked far too often through the years, and that's the concern. That's the concern. But you know, you and I are Ohio State football fans, you know, and like the same sort of vibe happens where like the Ryan Day will lose to Michigan, and then you're like, this is, or Ryan Day loses to Oregon, and you're like, Ryan Day can't win the big one, and this is just who he is, and this is, we've seen this story before, and then you flip the narrative real quick, and then he beats top 5 teams or whatever. So
I want to talk to Big T
maybe
today when we get out there and have coffee after this, because Big T is always a great pulse of the fan base.
Finger on Big T's pulse.
Yeah, I'm gonna put my finger on Big T.
Finger Big T.
I'm gonna finger Big T after this one because they're 14-1. I want to know, does he think, dude, it was a blip in the radar? We're undefeated, #1 in the country, or do we just get our dicks kicked into the point where it's like, yeah, this isn't what I thought it was?
Yeah. I don't mean to keep saying we'll see with Tennessee, but that's I allow one. You can't lose by 30 more than once.
It's like
and you can't. This can't happen again this season. You can lose other games, but I will allow like 1 to 3. I don't know what my number is. It depends on how much I like your team, but I will allow like 1 to 3 stinkers. So if this is just the one, like I said, if this is it, and Tennessee's only, I'm going to look at their schedule and just like hypothetical here.
Mm-hmm.
Their only losses from hearsay are at Auburn. They have coming up. They get Florida back at home and they win. They beat Florida by 10. They get revenge on Florida. Let's say they lose at Kentucky and then lose to Bama at home. And then they go into the SEC tournament and they lose the SEC championship. And that's what they're. That's a good team.
Yes.
That's a very good team, and all their losses from here on out are reasonable by 5 to 7 points, whatever. I'm not gonna panic about Tennessee entering the tournament. But yeah, so that's why I'm in wait and see mode, is because if this does in fact turn out to just be the one stinker, we move on. But Tennessee hasn't really played a team nearly as good as Florida. I don't think. Illinois though is showing some signs that Illinois win is going to just keep aging well for Tennessee. So.
And when they win, we'll talk about it later. When they win, they fucking win.
They win big, yeah. So yeah, I mean, you're looking back on it, you're like they won at Illinois. So it's not like Tennessee didn't play anybody and they were just playing a bunch of like directional schools up until this game, and now they're just total frauds. But at the same time, the #1 team in the country losing by 30 points, I'm pretty sure that's never happened in the history of the sport. And I'm pretty sure that has literally never happened once.
And let me say this, Titus, if you recall, that makes Tennessee very dangerous for the Mark Titus show.
Yeah.
Because someone made a rule. What was that rule? You can't.
Dude, I've been pretty good on this spreadsheet I'm working on. I'm updating it pretty regularly. I need to do a little more work before I release the next batch of teams we've crossed off. But
this is the tar and feather rankings.
My rule was if you lose by 25 to a team that has lost by 25 earlier in the year. So now moving forward, Tennessee is a poison team where if anybody they beat by 25 or more is getting crossed off.
And they now.
And I gotta say, I was a little hasty with this rule because I don't know if it's because I put this rule in place and then now I'm monitoring it more, or if this is just the reality of college basketball in 2025. But it does seem like there are a lot of blowouts in this sport. It does seem like there are a lot of pretty good teams that are losing by an absurd amount of points.
Mm-hmm.
Penn State's not a bad basketball team. Illinois beat Penn State by 40 without their best player. Yakachunas didn't even play in this game, and Hummerkaus was just a monster. Illinois is very, very good. Maybe that's the story, but this is like a trend across the sport, I feel. Or am I crazy?
No, you're right.
Maybe it's just that I'm paying more attention.
You know when it started? It started back when we were like, holy shit, Duke just beat Arizona State by 300 points in there. But now you look in every night. I mean, the other night, Duke beat Pitt by 30 points.
Yeah.
Tennessee lost by 30 points. Illinois beat an okay team by 30 points.
So what is this? What is this? Is this 3-point variation? It's teams are hitting threes, and like if you realize, shortly after the second half, at the under 16 timeout after the second half, when you've now shot at both ends, and Tennessee's a good example. They start 1 for 24. Halftime doesn't help them. They come out, they're still bricking. You just kind of pack it in. You're like, it's not our night shooting the ball. Meanwhile, the other team is shooting the ball well, and it's just as simple as like, look at the 3-point shooting. Is this
what it can't be is a lack of parity in the sport, because the times have changed where all the 5 stars go to North Carolina, Duke, Kentucky. Now you've got dudes, and with NIL, you can pay dudes. We got dudes going to BYU. We got it should be as competitive as it's ever been.
Right. And I guess it is in the sense that there's a world where Tennessee beats Florida by 20 next time they play. I mean, maybe it's not a new thing because I keep, goddamn, why do I always burp in the morning? What is that? I feel like it's just this show. This is the only show I ever burp on, and it's like, yeah. Anyway, not to derail the show. We keep going back to the Villanova, Oklahoma thing that, so maybe this isn't a new thing. That maybe in 2016 we saw Villanova, Oklahoma had big variance. But maybe it's just a 3-point shooting. I don't know. Wisconsin beat Iowa by 30-something the other night. Yeah.
I got a conspiracy for you.
Go ahead.
These kids these days, soft. Titus, what would happen if you went down 10, 15 points at halftime? You get your ass chewed out, and you come out and you fight back. When you get down 20 points now, who gives a shit? It might as well be 30, 40.
Yeah, as long as at halftime you check your phone to make sure your NIL check cashed. And as long as it did, man, you're good. Is that it?
I don't think that's that big of a joke. That's a joke, but all right, fuck it.
Yeah, I mean, if I want to go down that road, the old man take road, I would say there probably is some semblance of not a total lack of pride for the program or the jersey you're wearing, but not as much pride as players in the past. I think that's fair to say. I think it's fair to say that the guys playing for the guys that bounce around probably don't give a shit as much as the guys that were staying there for 4 years and took a ton of pride in.
I'm not saying
took a ton of pride in their program and everything. I'm just trying to think of my own. I remember when I was at Ohio State and we had the old heads come speak to us. They'd always talk about the program and man, this isn't about you guys. This isn't about you think it's about you. It's about the program. You're playing for something bigger than yourself. And I wonder across the country, old heads going back and speaking at their program, how much the guys are oh yeah, okay, yeah. I was kind of giving a half-ass effort, but now that I have this 60-year-old telling me that I'm playing for him, now I'm going to play harder. I don't think that resonates quite as much. So maybe there is a little bit of that, but I don't know if it's style of play. I need someone smarter than me to first of all, I need someone smarter than me to tell me, is this actually happening or am I just imagining it? Because again, it might just be that I put in this rule that if you lose by 25 to a team that lost by 25, you're crossed off. So now I'm paying more attention to how many teams are losing by 25. So maybe it's just that. It's just as simple as I'm paying more attention. But if it is in fact happening, why is it happening? Is it just threes? That seems to be the easiest.
I think that's probably the easiest. I do like your point about, not that that's the main reason, the lack of pride, but think about what just happened. Tennessee lost by 30 points. Best player is Chaz Lanier. What is Chaz Lanier like when, Chris Lofton comes back and he's talking about the history of Tennessee basketball?
Yeah.
I don't get, buddy, I've been here for fucking 3 months and I'm leaving.
Yeah, and I don't.
It's an interesting
and
point.
It doesn't have to be that extreme, even of just I don't give a shit. It just can be I'm middle of the road. I'm not I care about the program right now, but I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I don't. You're saying a bunch of you're throwing a bunch of names at me of guys that played here. I don't recognize those names. I don't. Yeah.
What do you think
it could be as simple as that.
What do you think it's like in 15 more years? Say Chaz Lanier takes him to the Final Four. Okay. Is he a Tennessee great? Does he come back and talk about, being the pride of Knoxville? I don't know, because he played 4 years.
Yeah, he would be if he takes him to the Final Four. Yeah, first time ever. But yeah, I understand your example. I'm curious how Caleb Love will be treated in Chapel Hill in 20 years. Does he get a hero's welcome when he goes back to Chapel Hill? But he has to. Yeah, right. That's exactly right. He under no circumstances can he, but also he must.
I don't know why it makes me feel sad, but it makes me feel sad. Just seeing you go back to the Ohio State game last week, and you're sitting around all your buddies, and you guys are all, hey, we made a national championship, we did a Final Four. That's sweet. Are these people gonna have those friendships for life when you have multiple groups of those people in your life now?
No, one of the cooler things, and I promised everybody I wouldn't talk about Ohio State that much, but it is the Mark Titus show, and I talk about my experiences. So this isn't about the current iteration of Buckeyes. This is about me, I guess. Mm-hmm. One of the cooler things about playing there, and we're not the only program that has this, but this is the program that I played for. One of the cooler things is the fraternity, is the former player bond that we have. Where I saw Deshaun Thomas at the Michigan State game. I never played with Deshaun Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
His freshman year was the year after I graduated. If you would have been a bystander when Deshaun Thomas and I bumped into each other, you would have thought that we played 4 years together. Just that how I was like, oh fuck, DT, what's up, man? And he's like, oh my god, and we'd give each other a big hug and that is because that's the culture of that place. Was like, the program does matter immensely. We all took a ton of pride in it. We all had like so many, like when we were on the team back in the day, like Michael Redd and Scooney Penn are popping in and speaking to the team, and it's like, listen, boys, you might think it's just about you. It's not. Like, this shit matters. This shit's real to me, damn it. Like all these old guys. And that resonates. And then we do like former player dinners where you start, you build that bond. And my point is that like, I am close with a shocking amount of guys. JJ Solinger's another. I sat next to him the entire game.
He out-cheered you, by the way.
He did, I know.
He was out-cheering the fuck out of you.
He did, dude. He's crazy. He's an insane fan. But he's another one. I never played a second of. I was never in a locker room with him. Never played with him. And I feel like JJ's a teammate of mine.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really cool. And I know that happens across the country. And North Carolina's probably that way. Michigan State's probably. There's a lot of them. But I do wonder, to your point, like, is that going to erode? And does it matter? And probably to the public, it doesn't matter. To those of us that were in it and played in a different time, I think it probably does.
And this doesn't have to be Ohio State specific, but you were in the golden age of, like, we had quite the run with you there and a little bit after, whatever. What happens with these people? Like, Akpar is now at Tennessee. Zed Key's at Dayton. What happens? Is Aaron Bradshaw, stick around forever? I just don't know how these it's interesting. Former player dinners and former player meetings and is Zed Key going to come back? And
I'm so curious who's going to be invited. Like, is Zed Key get invited? He's surely going to. He's beloved. Everybody loved him, but at the same time, like, he left. But also, like, what were the circumstances behind closed doors? Did he get did Diebler tell him, like, listen, man, you should probably go somewhere else, or did he? I don't know. It's all
interesting.
It's a different world we're living in. The Mark Titus Show is brought to you by DraftKings. Have you played Pick 6 from DraftKings yet? What are you waiting for? You better get on it. The playoffs are here, and time is running out. As the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL, DraftKings does fantasy sports like no one else. Play for better payouts on Pick 6. It's super easy to get started. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app, select 2 or more players, and choose if they'll have more or less of a stat, like which quarterback will throw for more than 2 TDs, or which running back will rush for less than 100 yards, or which linebacker will have more than 1 sack. It's just that easy. Pick 6 is available in most states, including Missouri, California, Texas, Georgia, and more. And DraftKings is making it even sweeter for first-timers. New Pick 6 customers play $5, get $50 in Pick 6 credits. Win more cash on Pick 6. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app and use code Titus. That's code Titus, Titus, for new customers to play $5, get $50 in Pick 6 credits only on DraftKings. Pick 6, the crown is yours. Which is a good time to pivot, I guess, to Mick Cronin's post-game comments.
I was going to say, he should have been the third chair for that last speech.
Michigan goes to UCLA, handles UCLA twice, really. Like I said, it was they were up big, squandered the lead, and then they're like, okay, all right, well, we did it once. Let's just do it again. Got another big lead. Vlad Golden had 36 points. One note about Vlad Golden's 36 points. I don't know if you're this way, Tate. You tell me if I'm walking through this office and you stop me and you're like, did you see the Cavs game last night? Not the Cavs Thunder. I'm just talking any Cavs game. Mm-hmm. Did you see the Cavs game last night? And I'd be like, no. And you're like, Donovan Mitchell, dude, 36 points. I would have said, Tate, why did you stop me for this? Mm-hmm. Why are you, like, I got shit to do, dude. Why are you stopping me? When you see that Vlad Golden, and it's not even just Vlad Golden, it's like literally any college basketball player scores 36 points, I stop what I'm doing, and I'm like, is this guy going to win National Player of the Year? Like, do we have to throw him into the All-American conversation? It's so crazy. 36 points in college is like 76 points in the NBA.
Especially Big Ten basketball.
Yeah. Anyway, that was I took a note of, like, my emotional state when I saw that, and I was like, it's so funny how different I perceive a 36-point night from a guy in college versus a 36-point night.
36 a night in the NBA is literally like, hey, the sun came up again this
week. But Mick Cronin is getting killed, I guess. I'm pretty sure he's getting.
It was polarizing.
It's a little polarizing. His post.
I think it was relatable.
His post-game comments talking about how soft UCLA is, and what did he say? They're entitled, delusional. No, I think it was delusional.
It was a great word. Completely delusional about who they are.
Yeah. And I watched the clip, and I was like, I don't have a problem with his comments. I guess you kind of if you're nitpicking, you get to the part where you're like, is this appropriate to say publicly? And I think that should be more of the discussion. I think every coach I've ever played for has said shit like this behind closed doors. Way worse than this is coaching 101 to just like get your guy, like you get your ass beat, you get your team in a huddle, and you're like, you guys are all pussy bitches, and you think you guys think you're sweet, you're not. That's pretty much the messaging. So I don't have a problem with that. But
yeah, he used the most common phrase that a coach would use in private setting, which is, "Don't tell me you want to win."
Yeah,
it's hey, you everyone wants to celebrate and get the trophies. Don't tell me you want to win unless blank blank blank.
Yeah,
that happens from high school to college. I'm sure to the pros, every single locker room. But what was the benefit of then telling the reporters that and making it become that? He embarrassed his players.
Did you ever do that when you were coaching high school girls basketball in a post-game press conference? Did you ever say that they're completely delusional?
No, but I will take that semi-joke back to we would have training, like not big deal, but like, hey, here's how you talk. Never take something from in the locker room and make it into a bigger deal. Yeah. Like, always thank your teammates. Always take the blame if something went wrong.
Yeah.
And Mick Cronin. So my question to Mick Cronin would be, what was your purpose? Why did you do that? If you did it because you were frustrated and emotionally unstable to control yourself in that moment, shame on you, and that's a big fucking mistake.
I like to believe though Cronin is
calculated,
knows what he's doing, and I like to believe that he recruited guys that would respond to that. I like to believe a lot of things though.
Yeah, you are.
I like to believe my high school girlfriend loved me. She didn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Great analogy.
I believed in that, and she fucking stabbed me in the back, man. So,
yeah, I mean,
but there's if it's the right collection of guys, this resonates and this works. But also if he's calling his guys completely delusional, maybe they are completely delusional. It's interesting. It's also I find it interesting too because it's a philosophical. Maybe that's overstating, but it's a question about like what we as the public want from our coaches and athletes in terms of transparency, in terms of like keeping it real in the media, because this will happen from time to time with athletes. Well, they'll say some shit in the media, and everyone's like, "Shut the fuck, dude! Just say all glory to God and keep it moving." Like, why did you say all of that stuff? And then other people are like, "No, man, this is awesome. Like, this is what we want. We want athletes to show personality." And ultimately, Mick Cronin he's just simply saying publicly what he's saying to his team, and it's not like it's not like the team was like, oh shit, I didn't realize he felt that way until I watched the news conference. But at the same time, I do think there's some value to what you're saying, like keep it in house, and need to throw your guys under the bus publicly.
So direct quotes from him. It's every day. I'm tired of it. It's every day. I have the most energy of anybody at practice. I'm upset with everybody in that locker room. My assistant coaches, my players. I don't need anything else. I have almost 500 wins. I'm only 53.
That part.
What the fuck is that?
That part, I think calling out your guys, I don't mind. I think saying like I ran my algorithm and I'm the only guy doing his job. I think that part is like, all right, like that's.
I don't know if that ever hits home. Like I like some of it, but I don't have to be here. Okay.
Then don't be here.
I don't love that.
Should I try that on this show? Should I try that leadership position and just see how it works? We should experiment with some of this stuff.
Different
I should
styles.
take on the persona of some of these coaches just to see if it works.
I'm gonna do this show as Mick.
It works with you, Cody. Negative, right?
Yeah, when we did the producer bowl, you pulled me out of the game for I don't know what, and then talk shit. I go back in. We won.
I think I was when I was coaching the producer bowl. That was last Christmas or something? A little over a year ago now. I pulled Cody out of the game, and I think I was just like, you fucking suck, dude. Like, go over there. And I was just like that direct with him, and he was like laughing at me. I was like, I'm not joking, dude. I want to win this thing, and you fucking suck. And then he went back in and was unbelievable. And then I realized in that moment, and unfortunately for Cody, this is bad. I realized in that moment he responds to negative coaching.
Well, I love that.
He responds to negativity, and so now.
But there are people.
So now I just treat him like shit, dude. I just fucking.
You're like, perfect. Got him.
Yeah. I get the best out of him. So now I'm just Bob Knight with Cody. I just fucking choke him and throw chairs at him nonstop. Anyway, Michigan, Big Ten driver's seat. I think we're nearing a point with the Big Ten where I would say it's I still think UCLA could win it. I still think Purdue could win it. But I would say that Illinois, Michigan State, and Michigan are the three that believe that they are in the driver's seat. So as much as I want to say Michigan's in the driver's seat, I think Illinois fans would be like, no, hang on just a second. And Michigan State fans would also say that. So I don't know if Michigan's in the driver's seat, but this Michigan, what makes Michigan interesting, I guess Illinois and Michigan State to a certain extent too, because this is the modern era of college basketball. There were so many question marks with Michigan. There were so many. I guess unlike Michigan State and Illinois, Michigan had a new coach. But what I'm saying is like their roster was just there was so much turnover, and you're like, I think they could be good, but I want to see what the pieces look like together. They got 2 7-footers. What's that going to look like? As it turns out, looks pretty good. They know what they're doing there. But yeah, I think that's what's interesting about Michigan is I think that the period of figuring out who they are, I think, is over. I think we kind of know who Michigan is and who they are as a Big Ten contender and a team that very much looks like some of the Michigan teams of old in terms of like what their expectations should be.
Yeah, and they just passed a huge test. Whether you want to say they're the best teams or not, they just passed their road trip to the West Coast. They played USC and then they played UCLA.
Yeah.
And they went undefeated. Now, as we said earlier, I'm deep into the schedules right now. Michigan State has that trip as well, where they have to go USC.
The LA teams?
Yep.
Okay.
Illinois does not have that on their schedule this year. They host both of those teams.
They go to Oregon and
Washington.
Okay.
Which I don't know. They're about.
Oregon's pretty good.
Oregon's good. But yeah, that West Coast trip, everyone's gonna have to make it at some point to do something.
How do you
Michigan
handle that?
Theirs.
Yeah, and they got the win at Wisconsin.
I think Michigan's in the driver's seat, even though obviously Illinois is gonna have something to say about that.
Illinois last night had something to say. Good God.
They only play once. Illinois, Michigan.
Yeah, I mean
it's Sunday, March 2nd, second last game of the year at Michigan.
Wow.
That might be for the Big Ten title.
At Michigan. So Illinois' road games are Indiana, Michigan State, Nebraska, Rutgers. Rutgers has fallen off. The nerds might have been right. The preseason nerds.
Yeah.
Preseason nerds might have been right.
I was thinking.
I'll say this now that TJ's not on the show. I never thought Rutgers was going to be good. I was just saying that to make TJ feel good. I actually agreed with all the nerds. I thought Rutgers would be just exactly as good as they are.
I was thinking if we're next fraud rankings, you might need to put us the day Blue Ribbon said they were going to be like 15th out of 18.
15th, yeah.
We freaked out. How is it possible that Dylan Harper's lived up to the hype and also Rutgers is just 15th out of 18?
I think that just shows how bad the rest of the team is, I guess. Yeah, because the Ace Bailey hasn't been quite as good, but he had the monster game in Bloomington the other day. But he's been a little up and down. Dylan Harper's been legit, and Rutgers, boy, they just don't matter.
Shout out Blue Ribbon.
They're just a team that does not matter, and it's a bummer. I want them to matter. Dylan Harper has more or less solidified his spot as the number 2 pick, I think, in the draft. And by the time the draft rolls around, it wouldn't surprise me if some people out there try to make it interesting and say he should go 1. Because that's what you have to do with the draft. It's not fun when it's like
you can't have
the number 1 guy's been the number 1 guy for a year. You gotta throw a contender in there and mix it up and get some discourse going. So yeah, Illinois still has Duke, by the way.
That's
in Madison Square Garden,
late
just
February
randomly
non-conference.
in February. Yeah, randomly in February. I guess that might take Illinois' eye off the ball in the Big Ten race. I don't know. I don't know. The Big Ten's going to be fat. I stand by that. The SEC is a way better league. The SEC has better teams. The SEC has better teams at the top, at the middle, at the bottom. But I think the Big Ten race is going to be more intriguing. I think the Big Ten will be closer. I think Michigan will still, even though Michigan is winning these games and Michigan is good and you love what you're seeing out of Michigan. Michigan is not consistently dominant. Or Michigan is a very volatile team throughout games, like the Arkansas game is a good example. Like they almost came back and won it, but they got down big. They come back.
Happened a couple times.
UCLA is the same sort of thing. So like, there's a lot of volatility with Michigan, but the talent is obviously there. Danny Wolf's incredible. The twin towers of Vlad Gold and Danny Wolf is unfair, and Dusty May's a great coach. And I told you that when they hired him, you're Buckeyes are supposed to hate Michigan. I get it.
Yeah, he's likable.
I don't know, man. I have a disorder. I have to call it like I see it.
Michigan goes to Purdue in a couple Friday nights. That'll be fucking sweet.
Yeah, that
could
be a good one.
Friday night.
That'll be a good one.
Yep.
But yeah, Illinois. This Ben Hummerkaus, dude, he's a beast. Illinois got the highest ceiling. I stand by that. Michigan, I don't think anything will really change that. Illinois could finish like 4th in the conference, and I still think entering the tournament, I'll be like, Illinois is the best chance the Big Ten has at winning the national championship. They're the only team that I think has the horses to. They're just so long, dude. They're so deep, and Hummerkaus is like, they're somehow. I don't want to say they're better than they were last year, but like last year it was like Terrence Shannon. I don't know, man. Brad Underwood has had a hell of a run at Illinois. He's had so much talent. And then last year, I got excited about Illinois because they, for the first time in a while, they had like an obvious pecking order. And I felt like when I watched Illinois basketball, there were like 5 guys on the court at any given time that thought they were the man. And it caused some problems. And then last year, there was like a more defined. It was like Terrence Shannon's the dude. Damask is Terrence Shannon's Batman. Damask is Robin. We kind of get in this order. What was that? Is that a dog barking?
I heard that. There's no way that was
Brandon Walker screaming. There was like a normal order, or like a defined order, I should say. And then this year, I feel like I've gone back. I'm just like talking myself in circles where I'm like, I actually think I love Illinois more because now there's not a defined order. Now it's like you don't know where it's coming from on any given night. They're so good. I mean, it's Jakaciunas is like their best player, so I guess that's a little. It's somewhere in the middle. It's like defined that Jakaciunas is the best player, but he's not the best player every night, and he didn't even play in this game. Like Hummerkaus carried him. They beat a good Penn State team by 40. It was crazy.
What type of seed would you be looking? So you continuously say that they have the highest ceiling and they're the only one that could make noise in the tournament. I agree, but also are they what is second in the Big Ten getting you?
So they lost to Northwestern. That's their bad loss. They lost to Bama and Tennessee. Those are all 3 of them. Those are the 3 losses they have right now. Their best win is blowing out Oregon. They beat Wisconsin at home. They hung with Tennessee. They had to win that Tennessee game. That's tough.
That would have been huge.
I don't know. What are they trending towards? Like a 3 seed? A 4
Lenardi's
seed,
got
probably?
them at a 3 right
3?
now.
Yeah.
Which is doable.
They'll be fine. Yeah, they'll be fine. As long as if they're a top 5 seed, I'll talk. Like depending on who the 1 is, as long as it's not Auburn or Duke. If Illinois is like the 4 or 5 and they're meeting in the Sweet 16 with the 1 seed. I could maybe talk myself into it.
That's what I was
depends on the matchup, I guess. It depends on the matchup. But I'm also like not saying Illinois is Final Four. I'm framing it as like they're still the 1 team from the Big Ten, which ultimately I might decide that just nobody in the Big Ten is going to win it. But if I had to pick one, it remains Illinois. But yeah, Illinois and Michigan are both playing great basketball right now. Great basketball. NBA stuff before we get out of here.
Yeah, the Cleveland Cavaliers, 32-4. Huge win.
I watched a little bit of that game last night. We didn't even talk about.
I would say we got to talk cats and cats.
Shit, yeah, what the hell? Villanova. I was gonna say I turned on the NBA game after I watched Villanova come back to beat UConn. They were up and then they were down. Excuse me, and then they beat UConn. I completely glossed over that. Eric Dixon is so good. I genuinely believe he's single-handedly saving Kyle Neptune's job. I think Eric Dixon is the story of this Villanova season, and he is probably going to be a first-team All-American, and rightfully so. And the way he just carries their offense, this was his worst game of the season. I think
it was.
I think this was his worst game of the season, and he had 23, 20.
He didn't shoot it very well.
I think he was like 6 for 20 from the field, but it wasn't. It wasn't his shooting. This wasn't a box score game for Eric Dixon because one, he still scored a lot of points, and at the end of the day, I mean, 6 for 20 isn't great, but it's not like Tennessee against Florida type numbers. But the gravity he has on the basketball court, where every time he's touching the ball, UConn's throwing 2 at him, and they're just Samson Johnson's on skates at all times trying to keep him in front of him, and he just commands so much attention, and he still gets his points. And he opens up stuff for everybody else. He's unbelievable. He's so fun to watch. And the way he goes about scoring, he's got like the biggest frame, and he's just this big body that looks like he's slow, and then he'll just suddenly just like cross dudes up,
he's awesome.
Like between the legs, and it's crazy. He's got a brute force physical body with a finesse game, basically. But he's also got he doesn't have a finesse mindset. So a lot of the finesse guys will shy away from contact and all that sort of thing. He doesn't do that. He just has the skills to go with the body, and it's been a joy to watch, man. And I don't know. He's carrying this Villanova team. Obviously a huge win, and hopefully Villanova can keep this rolling. And this is who they are now. In the start of the season,
they've won 8 of 9.
Fast.
They go to St. John's on Saturday. If they can rattle off in 1 week, UConn and St. John's, are we going to be watching Eric Dixon in the tournament?
I would love to watch Eric Dixon. I would love that. Yeah, that would be something I would love. And I think I think our Kyle Neptune fired. When is Kyle Neptune getting fired?
Pull that up.
Did we put years on it?
There are some.
When I said December, when I said February, I meant February of 26. That's what I meant.
Our leader right now, might be pronouncing it wrong. D. Greiser or Gresser said not this season.
You're talking about you opened this to the public.
Yeah, so I blogged it. I said join it, and we had 150 people fill out a Google form, name, when they would be. Some people gave some comments as well. We had some yesterdays. We had some not soon enoughs. We had some Christmas mornings. We had some
Christmas mornings.
Cody, yours is coming up, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm cooked.
Yeah, you're cooked. And then D. Greiser put his balls on the table and said, it ain't happening.
Just not happening at all.
Credit to him.
Yeah, I didn't know that was an option. I thought it's a Kyle Neptune fired thing. I thought we had to no, he'll get fired at some point.
Yeah.
No, it's just not this year.
Yeah, it is happening, D. Greiser.
Yeah.
It will happen.
It'll happen at some point. I guess he could resign. I guess he could turn around and he could resign. Yeah, but Villanova's back. Arizona's back. Shout out to Cats everywhere, except I guess Kentucky getting slowed down in Georgia. I think that's going to be a consistent thing, and I think unfortunately it's easier said than done though. You can't just slow a team down. I mean, maybe they need Kirk Risa back. Is that it? Kirk Risa is not their best player, not even close.
Mm-hmm.
But Kirk Risa is insane, and Kirk Risa loves to just push tempo and pull up from 30 feet, and maybe that's what they need is just to get the tempo going. What happened? What did you tell?
I was going to say, speaking of Cats, talk about the SGA Cavs game.
Great transition, Cody.
You pointed at me as my phone buzzed, and I thought you just texted me something. I thought there was like an emergency. I thought someone died or something.
There was.
What happened?
Transition to the.
Oh, yeah.
That was good.
Speaking of Cats, let's talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers.
No, SGA went to Kentucky.
Oh, okay. That's all right. All right. Whatever. We're here now. The Cavs, after the UConn game, I flipped over to see the end of the Cavs Thunder.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Cleveland Cavaliers won't go away, dude. Like in terms of they had the hot start to the season, and then they lost to the Celtics. That was their first loss, and I think there was like a general belief that like, all right, that was fun while it lasted. Now let's put the Cavs over here. We don't have to really talk about them anymore.
Yeah, they lost back. So they lost to the Celtics. Then they lost back-to-back games to the Hawks over break, and they were the first team eliminated from the NBA Cup, essentially.
Oh, yeah.
But also in Cleveland, we don't play for NBA Cups. We play for the Larry O'Brien.
You're right.
All right. But yeah, this is our second double-digit win streak of the year. Last night, it honestly, so I lived through all the LeBron years were like my formidable years in Cleveland. Yeah. And it felt like last night one of the biggest like statement regular season wins because we're 32-4 and people are acting like, yeah, but I mean, that's not a real 32-4.
Right.
So we host a team on a 15-game win streak that just beat the shit out of Boston. They come in there. Donovan Mitchell doesn't even play well. We are a fucking basketball team.
No.
And I can't wait to talk with you later in the year when we start doing NBA stuff. The point is going to be that we don't have a top. Donovan Mitchell's great, but we don't have like a top of the top of the top superstar. Right. Do we need one to win in the NBA?
I don't know. My fear about the Cavs is you care too much about the regular season.
And there's precedent to show that is.
Yeah. What if you're like the Raptors of old? What if you're like the Hawks of old? You've become the Raptors and Hawks.
And I used to make fun of those people. So, that hurts.
I know. I'm not saying that's true. That's just my fear. That's my fear. Well, you're almost winning too much because the more you win, like you might fuck around and look up and be like, oh my God, could we win 72, 73? Could we win 70 games? We might fuck around and do that.
We are going to fuck around. And so here's
I don't expect it. You know what I'm saying, though? Like, you keep taking every game because you're like, we don't want this streak to end, whatever, and you're playing. I'm not saying the only reason the Cavs are winning is because they're playing harder than everybody. They have a great team. They're a ton of fun pieces. And
our coach is awesome.
Your coach is awesome. But, what happens when you look up and you're like, oh, my God. Like, because they're on pace right now for what? They're on pace to go what?
Go 60-something and 6?
Yeah.
6-6?
What if they decide that winning 70 is very important and you can be an elite group
Sorry, I had it wrong. But, yeah, my point is you're right. I am still checking the NBA standings every
season. You say 66 and 6?
I was thinking 72.
Dude, mark of the beast. You just like.
I meant 68.
That was crazy.
Whatever.
Just throwing a 666 out there like that.
Point being, yeah, I don't think the people in Boston are checking the NBA standings as frequently as I am right now, which we're up 5.5 games on the Celtics. We will be the 1 seed. And I just hope that matters more than back when we had LeBron. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck if we're the 7 seed. We're running through this.
You want to know what you're on pace right now?
Yeah.
32-4 is an 889 percentage.
Okay.
You're winning 88.9% of your games.
Yep.
Over the course of 82 games, that comes out to 72.89 wins.
Ooh.
You're on pace to set the record.
Ooh.
You're on pace to tie the Warriors. That's what I'm saying.
Ooh.
If this continues, at what point are they like, this matters to us? They go for it, and then they lose to the Celtics in 5 games in the playoffs.
You know what pisses me the fuck off, Titus? I'll tell you. We're still 10-1, and we're below teams like the New York Knicks to win the NBA
That's
Finals.
pretty crazy.
We're better than the Knicks. I can hear you say, hey, the Celtics have won, the championship.
The Celtics should be the favorite.
They should be.
For sure.
And they don't need to be the 1 seed. But what have the Knicks done to show you that they should be higher favored than the Cavs?
Yeah. Zion Williamson's back, by the way. That was awesome. It breaks my heart that he's not just a constant force in this.
Yeah.
Is Cooper Flagg? We kind of glossed over. We mentioned it, but the Cooper Flagg dunk. Brandon Walker was telling me that was like. Brandon Walker, despite public appearances, Brandon Walker does serve an important role in my life. Where he is the casual college basketball fan temperature check on stuff. Where he cares about college basketball, but he's not always locked in. And Cooper Flagg had a ton of hype. And I said in the preseason that Cooper Flagg was going to have a Zion-esque type year. That was my bold take. Was the guy that's the most hyped prospect in a long time was going to be hyped, and people were going to love him. But I was like, I think this is going to be like he's going to be a sensation. He's not just going to be the best player in the country. He's going to be a step above that. And then Janai Broom was like, he's not even going to be the best player in the country. Watch this. But I felt like I feel like as a guy that's paid a lot of attention to this stuff, that Cooper Flagg, other than the late game hiccups, and obviously the Kentucky game was a time when maybe the country was paying attention to him, and that wasn't a great first impression at the end of the game, even though he had a monster game and was carrying Duke. Not a great end of game situation there. I felt like Cooper Flagg has lived up to the hype. I feel like Cooper Flagg is every bit as good as we expected him to be. But then Brandon was like, for me, that was the first moment that I was like, oh yeah, Cooper Flagg's at Duke, and he said that was like his.
He said the dunk was.
Yeah. Do you feel like that's a fair assessment? Do you think people? Do you think? I guess as we're about halfway through the season, let's assess the Cooper Flagg hype train, because Brandon was like, that was the first like Cooper Flagg moment of the year. And I was like, I don't think that's right, but I also can't argue it because I'm arguing it from a place of a guy that's paying a ton of attention.
He doesn't mean that.
Yeah.
Brandon's a lot of things. He is very well versed in what's going on.
Yeah.
Cooper Flagg led off SportsCenter multiple times with the Kentucky, the Kansas and the Kentucky kind of falters at the end. And
yeah.
I'm looking at it as, he has lived up to the hype, and he was, an 18-year-old, 17-year-old kid going through growing pains, and now he is absolutely balling out. He had a huge fucking dunk, and this is like his arc.
Yeah.
This is not the first time that the casual fan. Cooper Flagg, after he turned the ball over on the spin move twice,
right,
was very well known to the casual fan.
Yeah, but I guess for a bad reason is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Is this the first oh shit, this dude is awesome. I need to go buy his jersey right now.
Maybe we were
The
too
dunk
deep
on
into
Pitt.
it because when he does lose the ball on a spin move, but also is 26-11 against Kentucky.
Yeah.
It's like,
But it's not even just the. I mean, he's been great all year. Like just watch one Duke game, and you're like, he
Double-double
does
against Auburn. They
everything
beat
everything there is to do on a basketball court. He does it, and he does it well. But yeah, he doesn't have the Zion highlights, and I guess that's what matters most. And he finally, and the funny parallel is that he gets his Zion type highlight on the same night Zion.
Who had it
a
first?
360 windmill.
Who would have done it first time wise?
To NBA action.
Because it would be great if Zion did it afterwards.
Like right after,
I'm
like
still here.
Like word got to, were they in New Orleans or San Antonio? Was it against the Spurs? I don't even remember. There's no way of knowing.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
Pretty sure it was in New Orleans. Word gets to New Orleans. Word gets to Zion that Cooper Flagg has just provided a earth-shattering dunk. You need to respond.
And then he just comes out of the clouds and does it.
The public is looking for your response. Yeah, the Duke train rolls on. But I guess working against Duke, one of the concerns I had midway through the non-conference, and it's starting to materialize here, is that Duke, the ACC is not that great, and I think the general public I think Duke just might go away for a little while until they play Carolina. I think Duke. I don't know how, because ultimately the way you sell these games to the general public is you say Duke is playing a top 10 team. Duke is playing. You look at the top 25 and you're like, oh my God, we got Duke versus Clemson coming up. But yeah, I know Clemson's unranked, but Clemson's pretty good, you guys, and Clemson could be like, that's a hard sell. But if you're like Duke versus Louisville's ranked 7th in the country, Duke is ranked 2nd in the country. You got to watch this. People are going to turn it on, and I don't know if people know which Duke games to watch right now.
If it wasn't for, since they beat Auburn, Louisville back to back, they haven't played a game within 20 points, damn near within 30 points in a month.
Yeah, they're almost hurting themselves by beating. Like Pitt is going to probably make the NCAA tournament, and they're one of the handful of teams in the ACC that's going to make the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Probably, I don't know. Maybe Pitt falls off a cliff. And they beat them by 30, which should be awesome if you're a Duke fan, but also like kind of hurts the Duke hype because it's like, oh, they have like a feel of like Gonzaga now, where it's like I'm not gonna tune in to watch them beat the shit out. Like they're so much better than everybody else in their conference.
I was gonna say, can you have your Heisman moment in a game where you win by 30, but then when you look at it, your game you won by 30 was a team that we're talking about as a top 3-4 team in the ACC.
Yeah.
So it's not their fault that they won by 30.
Who's ranked in the ACC right now? It's Duke. It's I'm going through the top 25 right now. It's not Syracuse. Thank you, Cody. Did not need that help. That's it. It's Duke. And Pitt was 26. Pitt was the top receiving votes team.
Yikes.
And then who's receiving votes? It's Pitt. Clemson's receiving votes. Is that it?
Wow.
Am I missing anyone else? That's it. Yeah. That's it right now. So, anyway. Cooper Flagg's going to continue to be awesome, but I guess we're not going to get the marquee matchups.
And with Carolina being down, we're not even – I mean, we're getting that because of it's like a rivalry and they're going to hype it up, but like Carolina's not Carolina.
A couple things before we go. Dicky V is back. I saw the tweet last night that he said, what are you smirking at, Cody? What was that?
I love Dicky V. I was excited.
All right. I keep my boy in check over there. I don't know. You never know. You just never know. I don't know if you were. I don't know what's going on in that brain of yours. Dicky V said that his doctor says his vocal cords are good to go, and he could conceivably call games on ESPN starting now, I guess.
Wow.
So we might hear Dicky V's voice again, which is fucking awesome. And the Dicky V saga has been a wild one with this cancer stuff, and it's come back and it's moved, and like I don't know, like it feels like every month he has cancer and then he's cancer free, and we celebrate the wins, and when he says it comes back, we're sad about it. But through it all, he never really talks. He puts out like these old videos of him saying like, here's my motivational tip of the day, and then he'll tweet it and say like this was recorded 2 years ago or whatever else. And so he's got the happy Twitter fingers because he can't really. His vocal cords, he's told to take it easy on, but now he's back, I guess. So that would be awesome. I would love to have Dicky V. I think it's tough because Lee Corso. I mean, that's tough to watch on College Game Day, as we know. And at some point, someone needs to step in and just be like, Lee, thank you for your service. Like, go enjoy retirement. And Dicky V is not to that level yet, but there is going to be at some point like a time where I think it would serve everybody well for Dicky V to officially retire and say, I'm done with this. The problem is like these older guys, and especially guys like Corso and Dicky V, like you can make the argument that's what keeps them going, and like that's what the reason, the one thing they have in their life that gets their juices flowing is like being able to be on TV and call these games and stuff. But I do think at some point for all parties, it would make sense to be like, all right, this is it, Dicky V. And it doesn't necessarily have to be this year or next year, or maybe it's 5-10 years from now, whatever. I hope that when that day comes, it's I think his last game should be North Carolina Duke. Mm-hmm. They should set it up when it's North Carolina Duke in Cameron Indoor Stadium, the last game of the year. It's a year where Duke gets the home game to end the year instead of North Carolina. And have Dicky V call that game. And Billis can be on it too. And like you could do Schulman, Billis, and Dicky V, and let Billis do the heavy lifting in terms of the analysis and stuff, and just let Dicky V yell and scream and, crowd surf with the Cameron Crazies and all that. But we need that. He needs that. We need it. We all want it. And I don't know, is Carolina Duke and Cameron this year the last game? I know they played twice, but no, last game. Duke plays their last game. It's at Chapel Hill, March 8th.
This could be next year.
So say next year. Yeah. Maybe that's the farewell. Next year is the Dicky V farewell tour at Duke. You get Coach K there. I don't know. It all makes sense.
Get that to the right people, Cody. That's a great idea.
Yeah, go ahead and send that up the chain, Cody. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I will.
Before we go, big news in your world. Tate After Dark.
I'm so pumped.
I found out about this live on the air, Mostly Sports, that Jerry was stepping down, and I don't know a ton about it.
Yeah, so Jerry After Dark, monster, Jerry, electric personality. The commenters and the late night challenges and staying overnight and basically having to like do crazy things on end. We're getting to him, and he wanted to step away, which makes sense. But then his team of, Lucas, White Boy Rick, Ryan, were like, well, the show does really well. We've got a lot of numbers. And
I want a job.
Yeah, and I still want to. So they're like.
Lucas is like, I would like to have a job, yeah.
Yeah, so from my understanding, some people went to bat for me, and I'm thankful for that, which is we need someone. What? I know. I saw the yak. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Brandon. Always have my back. But yeah,
I was kidding. I didn't go to bat for you.
I saw the yak.
I just wanted to take the credit.
Point being that it's going to be similar where we do, fun, long, ridiculous challenges on stream. But I think we're going to start doing it with maybe a partner. Maybe Mark.
So this isn't. You're not a one-for-one replacement of Jerry.
Not at all.
This isn't going to be the Tate After Dark.
No, Barstool After Dark.
It's more of a Barstool After Dark, hosted by Tate.
Correct.
Yeah.
So like people are like, hey, you think you and I could Steph Curry, or the 3-point record consecutively is 29. Do you think we could get 30?
Set by who?
An NBA team.
An NBA team made 29 threes in a row.
See, that's a great challenge because I don't know.
Okay, Cody, how do I answer this?
See, now this is what's happening.
Yeah, plug your ears, Tate. Cody, I could do it myself. I think if you introduced
I knew that
to the equation.
I said that in the meeting yesterday. I said Titus gonna be pissed that I have to do it with him.
If you're asking, can I make 29 threes? Yes.
All right.
If you have to shoot, I get a little more worried about it.
So I counter with this then. Another Titus idea that I was.
But no, I try it. I'll do any basketball shooting challenge.
So
I love it. I love it, Maggle.
So
I love it.
Titus and Ohio State try to break LeBron James' scoring record. How long would it take us?
Yeah, I would do it. I'll do any basketball challenge. Now, some of them I would prefer more than a 12-hour heads up. Like if we were going to tackle the LeBron thing, let's get that on the calendar like a month out so I can clear my schedule and tell my wife I'm not coming home for a few days and stuff like that. But I'm down to do just about any basketball challenge you can think of.
I love that.
I will do that. I don't know if the audience cares or wants to see it, but yeah, that's fun. Like when Jerry would do the Caitlin Clark thing or literally any of his basketball challenges, I was like, I kind of want to see if I could do that myself. Like the Caitlin Clark one especially, that one I was like, I wonder how long that would take me. And then he did the make 12 threes in a row thing, and I thought that was going to take him 10 minutes, and
yeah, that was
it It took him through the night. No, I was sad when I heard the news because Jerry, I love that show, and I was an early subscriber. The second he announced it, I smashed the subscribe button. I thought it was a great idea for him, and I'm sad that Jerry had to step away. But the spirit of the show will continue, and I'm excited for you. This will be you're a sicko. You're a real sicko. You're like you have a creative, disgusting brain, and also you are. I feel like the chat's not going to get to you because you are one of them. So you were born in that darkness, as they say.
I had
raised
in it. Lucas was like, "Hey, what's going to?" When he was like kind of interviewing me, how can I trust that you are not going to? It's not going to get to you.
Yeah.
And I said, I think the biggest difference between me and Jerry is that I can't fucking wait for that chat.
Yeah. Yeah. Lucas, how Lucas interviewing you? That's crazy.
Yeah, I'll interview
Lucas.
You, Lucas.
Yeah. That's crazy. No, I said this on Mosley Sports when I saw the news and we were talking about the chat getting to Jerry and everything. It's a tough situation because I think the chat is. There are times when I watch and I'll turn the chat on like everyone else and I'm like, God damn, dude, that's I don't know how Jerry does that. Like I'm thinking like if I did like a Mostly Sports with the Yak and I was like watching the chat as it's going on, it would just like break my brain.
Yeah.
Like never mind them being mean, just like it's just like hard to be creative and be in the zone while you're also getting pulled out by what people are saying about you and all that sort of thing. But then some of the stuff they said was just like brutal. But at the same time, the problem is some of it was funny. So you have to like the example I kept using is like the times when he would just like more or less just shoot himself in the face with a gun and then someone would just comment, your toe was on the line. Do it again. That one doesn't count. Your toe was on the line. I would laugh so hard. I thought it was so funny, but then also I put myself in Jerry's shoes and I'm like, that literally happened to me. One time I went on there with Brandon and the challenge was like to build a fire by the end of the show.
Uh-huh.
And Jerry laid out all the rules and the stipulations and each step that we were going to take, and this is what it's going to look like. The show starts, and we're like 10 minutes in, and Jerry's like, you guys want to put on a shot collar? You guys want to fucking mousetrap your balls? You guys want to – and I was like, I'm not against doing this. It's that you told me this is what we're going to do, and you're swerving it immediately. This is crazy. And then we just kept – and so Brandon – that show, Brandon kissed Jerry. I did a mega mousetrap, which has never been done. I'm pretty sure this has never been done in the history of mankind. I did 10 fingers and 10 mousetraps. We were shocking ourselves. We were I don't know. We were just down to do anything, and it was going on for like an hour, 2 hours, whatever. And then we get to the point where we're supposed to build the fire, and the way it was explained to us, it was like a pretty straightforward. It was going to be like a challenge, and like maybe we're blindfolded or whatever else. It was going to be pretty straightforward. But then they added a bunch of other wrinkles to appease the chat. And I was just sort of internally losing my mind. And then Brandon wanted to quit. And I was like, yeah, fuck it. Let's just quit. And the point is like being in those shoes for that one experience where you're like, oh, you can literally never please these people was crazy. And I was like, I don't know how Jerry does that part of it. But also when I watch it, I think it's very funny when so it's double-edged.
I think one that
so Godspeed to you, man.
I think one that kind of broke Jerry a little bit was, if you remember, he had to go double doink. He had to go kick the football a million fucking times in a row until he double doinked. And then on his double doink, he actually triple doinked. And the chat said, a triple doink is not a double doink.
Yeah, yeah. I think you'll be good at telling the chat to suck your dick and this is the way it's going to be. And you're going to move on. But also at the same time, appease them in certain contexts.
Well, so we've had a couple meetings. So far, early reports are that my mind is too good at coming up with the challenges.
Oh, boy.
I'll tell you the first. But my second one was, I kind of want to tell the chat. Chat, don't listen to this. This is between me and Mark. I think you know what like goating someone is when you like bend over and put your like fucking nuts
on. Oh,
it?
yeah.
I think I'm going to goat the chat on the first, like, hey, this is my fucking chat. And anyone that just looked at my balls.
I own you. Fun show, man. It'll be a fun show.
All right.
It's sad we're going to lose you on this show, though. Right? I mean,
is that true?
You're gonna get a big head. We see it all the time. We see it with Connor Griffin on Mostly Sports. You give a guy a chance, he blows up, and then he suddenly thinks he's bigger than everything.
I texted Portnoy yesterday. I said, hey, I'd like to discuss a raise.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have my own show now.
Yeah.
How many subscribers I have?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're gonna come to me and be like, I don't have time for this bullshit ass. This is child's play. This college basketball Mark Titus show.
I look forward to when we do a show Tuesday night. And it takes all the way till Thursday morning, and I have to leave the golf simulator to come do the Titus show.
Break down like Missouri Valley basketball.
Hey, I'm in. I look forward to it.
Anyway, good luck to you, man. All right, that's the show. Games this weekend. Do a weekend preview real quick.
Yeah, we got obviously SEC Saturday. We got Kentucky going to Mississippi State, which is looking like.
Yeah, Mississippi State can score the basketball. Mississippi State has had the stench of kind of what we said about Tennessee before in the past, where it's like they play great defense. You don't question the defense. It's like, are they prone to go 1 for 15 from the 3-point line on any given night? And right now, man, they're scoring the ball well, and they got Josh Hubbard is awesome. RJ Melendez he was great at Illinois. He's great at Mississippi State. He's erratic, but the talent's there. They're scoring it, man. Mississippi State's legit. They're legit. They're not going to win the SEC, but they are legit.
Kind of the road test that you talk about in the SEC, like Bama. Bama goes to Texas A&M on Saturday, 5 versus 10 matchup.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be big. Florida goes to Arkansas. Arkansas is reeling, and then Nova St. John's.
Nova St. John's. That's a big one. Yeah, I think if Nova beats St. John's, they're definitively, unequivocally.
They're back.
Some other big word. Back.
Capital B.
Yeah, they're
capitalized.
Capital B back. Yeah. And that's just who they are, and that's how we have to take Villanova for the rest of the season. We have to just completely forget the start of the season. Free Lutheran Bible College on Saturday, is it, Cody? You and I are the only two left, man. We're the only two left on the bandwagon.
Doubleheader. Friday, Saturday.
So they play Friday. They play
6 o'clock, and then they play at 9 a.m.
9 a.m. It's a classic. Are they at home?
I think they're away.
Damn, dude. Got to get them a win. We got to get these boys a win.
Tough to win on the road in the what conference are they in again?
Pretty sure
they're in the Bible Belt.
The PSC.
Tough to win on the road.
The PSC, pretty sure conference. We got. I want to sponsor them next year. We got to. That's our off-season homework. Is we got to make it
$4,500.
$4,500.
25.
25.
Sponsor them twice.
That's easy.
Sponsor them 3 times.
$2,500. Come on, man. Come on, that's easy. We got to make inroads in the offseason. That's our homework for the offseason. All right, great weekend of college basketball ahead. Great weekend of college football ahead. Great weekend of NFL football ahead. If the NFL games are blowouts, flip on some college basketball. That's my suggestion to the American people. In the meantime, have a great weekend, everybody. See you Monday.